It is time for another Jubilee episode of review. It is time for the 800th review. And the fact that we have reached the 800th review is really thanks to you guys, because if you were not watching these videos, well, there wouldn't be any more reviews. And more of you guys are watching, more in fact than ever before. And I'm really grateful for your ongoing support for these videos. Now, for these Jubilee episodes, I usually try to find a little bit of a special aircraft model. Usually I have been trying to review scale 200 models, but for this review I decided to go for a scale 400 model because I think it has the potential to be really rather interesting. And we can do so thanks to the support of my new partner here on the channel, Jumbolino Model, where you can get really awesome models for reasonable prices from people who are collecting themselves, so they do understand our madness. Do check them out. You can find a link to them in the video description below. With that, for the 800th time here on the channel, welcome to a new episode of review, where we today will take a closer look at an Airbus A380-800 of Singapore Airlines. Now, as you can see, the box design of JC Wings in this case is kind of a dual box design for an ANA aircraft model and a Singapore Airlines model. We are looking at the version with Singapore Airlines branding. The backside again has the Singapore and ANA branding. We have some lovely schematics of the aircraft model inside. We get some specifications as well. Overall, in my opinion, really nice box design, offers a lot to look at. It really does give a little bit of a premium feel and is a good start, I think, and makes me look forward to look at the aircraft model inside. And here she is, the Airbus A380 of Singapore Airlines. And as you can see, it's clearly not a normal livery. This is the primer livery that the aircraft was in while still in production. And technically, we could maybe argue that it's actually not an A380 of Singapore Airlines, but of Airbus Industries, as this actually also still has the Airbus registration code on the aircraft. So this is how the model or the real aircraft looked before it was delivered to Singapore Airlines and transferred into the registry of Singapore Airlines. Now, there's a lot to look at this aircraft model in scale 400 from JC Wings, and we will go through the entire model step by step. Starting off with the tail section, where we do have the Singapore Airlines branding and logo. This is of course quite typical with these aircraft being assembled already having the branding on the stabilizer. We have some detailing on the horizontal stabilizer, on the underside and on the upper side as well. And then of course when we look on the fuselage, now we don't have a livery as such, so we really do need to look for all the details that the aircraft itself has to offer, and here we do get quite a bit. We have lots of detailing in the cabin doors. We have these hatches just underneath. I think that's where the emergency slides would come out in case of an emergency. We of course have the French registration code, as the aircraft at this time was still registered with Airbus Industries. Above that we have the production number of this aircraft. And then, of course, also a bunch of more markings, like the angle of attack for the horizontal stabilizers, and of course then also some detailing around the APU exhaust at the very tail of the aircraft. Now, at the front of the aircraft, again, we don't find any Singapore Airlines branding, again, because it is in the primer livery and hadn't been delivered to Singapore Airlines yet, and therefore not painted in their livery. But we do actually find, again, here on multiple occasions, the registration, the production number of this aircraft, so MSN 065. And again, a bunch of detailing in the cabin doors, again, the hatches with the emergency slides, a lot of lovely little detailing, some markings, some sensors. We, for example, have the pedal tubes around the cockpit section with the cockpit windows and the metallic edges around those, with the window wipers as well, and some really lovely detailing also around the radome. I really do like how that looks. The unpainted radome here looks fantastic in my opinion, and overall actually I think the cockpit shape here also quite nice overall, as I said. Then, of course, we also have the engine nacelles. Now, they have actually already been given a layer of paint as it would look in real life after delivery. So this light grayish paint or color. Then we have the silver leading edge and the safety markings, as well as a few more markings and hatches around this part of the aircraft, looking really quite nice. Also the physical detailing, I think, really lovely with the JC wings in this scale. Of course, when we look into the front, the fan blades, and also some detailing around the spinners.
Oh my god, look at all these lovely models. Oh, I'm sorry that I interrupted your review, but we'll get back to that model in just a second. But just check out all these lovely models. And perhaps you're like me and you just don't know which one you should add next to your collection, because here you're truly spoiled for choice with all the scales and all the die-cast manufacturers that you can find at the Jumbolino Model Store. So do check them out. You can find a link to them in the video description below.
Now, when we look at the landing gear, we can see here it is made entirely out of metal, except for the wheels. They are, of course, made out of plastic. Now, the main landing gear can be moved around a little bit. I will get into why in just a second. The front landing gear looking just fine, I think, overall. And always nice is the fact that you have wheel caps. Looks really lovely. Now, as I said, the main landing gear can be moved around a bit because it has the feature of rolling wheels. The model is really quite heavy itself, so it's not really a feature I would recommend using. I don't think it is good, and I think it will break over time, but it is there for those who really like it. Now, we can move on to the wings, taking a look at those, because here we do have the flap slats and spoilers carved out quite nicely. We have some printed details on the upper side as well as on the underside with more nice physical detailing. And of course, we also have these massive wingtip fences of the A380, which I think JC Wings has pulled off really nicely. And my personal highlight when it comes to printed details on the wings is just the fact that we have the landing lights added here. Looks really lovely. Also on the belly of the aircraft, we find a bunch of detailing, printed as well as physical detailing. Really, really lovely. We do have a hole in the fuselage for a stand that is not included with this aircraft model. Not really something I'm a huge fan of, but I think these holes make more sense for Scale 400 models than Scale 500 models. Rear intakes is a physical detailing we also find on the belly, like for example also antennas. Those we then also find on top of the fuselage, where we also have a bunch of physical and printed detailing. For example, a set dome or the beacon lights. Last but certainly not least, we should also mention that, of course, the doors to the cargo compartments have also been added here in the print at the back of the aircraft as well as at the front of the aircraft. So there we have it, the Airbus A380 in the primer livery of Singapore Airlines from JC Wings in scale 1 to 400. And what can we say about this aircraft model? When you have an aircraft model with a very elaborate livery, you as a manufacturer might get away with skipping over a few details from the aircraft itself, so details that have nothing to do with the livery itself here and there, because the livery is so dominant. But when you don't have any livery, as we see in this aircraft model, well, then you entirely rely on the details that the aircraft model itself, that the aircraft type itself gives you. And this is exactly what JC Wings has done here. And they have done so really well, in my opinion. We have loads of small details all over the aircraft model that we often with finished aircraft, so with models or aircraft with the actual livery of airlines, just don't see. Like for example the hatches underneath the cabin doors for the emergency slides, or like this little square that we find just above the back part of the wings, or for example the really lovely detailing in the radome. Stuff like that we just don't see. But here we do, and it looks really, really nice. I love the different colors of the primers. That's just like these aircraft look in production, because these primer colors are often just mixed in the factories. So there isn't really a consistency with these colors. They can vary quite a bit over a production phase of an aircraft. And yeah, this is exactly what we see here. This looks really cool, in my opinion. And that then ties into the next thing I want to highlight, because one thing is having a lot of details on the model. The other thing is how have they actually been pulled off. And when we look at the print quality here, JC Wings has done a really, really nice job. We have really clean cut corners, no smudges. We don't have any print lines whatsoever. This is really high quality stuff, looking really great. Also, the physical detailing of the aircraft model, I don't really have anything to complain about. I think this A380 model looks really great. Yes, maybe from certain angles, the The nose of the aircraft looks a little bit pointy, but I think this is really minute margins we're talking here. So for me personally, I really do not have anything to complain about when it comes to the physical detailing and the mold of this A380. The only thing I don't like when it comes to the physical detailing of the aircraft is the landing gear. Now, I think it looks great, but the rolling wheel feature, I am not a fan of. I will never be a fan of it because for me, this is just something that has the potential to break, and I am pretty sure it will break at some point, especially with this A380 because it is actually a quite heavy aircraft model. So dragging this over a surface with these wheels, it's just destined to break at some point. I don't know, maybe this is something that is really popular in Scale 400 because it's my understanding that pretty much all Scale 400 models have this feature. If you really are a fan of rolling wheels and you wouldn't buy a model, for example, without rolling wheels, and let me know in the comment section below. Make me understand why this is so important, why you wouldn't just have fixed wheels and then avoid having something that will break in the future. Let me know what you think about this in the comment section below. So, when you have an aircraft model that cannot rely on the livery, you have to deliver when it comes to details from the aircraft model, and that is exactly what JC Wings has done with this aircraft model. And I think it is a really, really brilliant example of what a manufacturer can do when they really want to show off what they can do. And certainly with the primer livery, we really have something a little bit different than what we usually get here in front of our camera. Now, what do you think about this? Do you like primer livery aircraft models? Is this something you think we should get more of? Let me also know here your thoughts in the comment section below. And with that, we have reached the end of this Jubilee episode, the 800th episode of review. As I said in the beginning of the video, these videos would not be here if you guys wouldn't be watching, and there are more and more of you watching them, which is really, really awesome, seeing this community grow. So thank you very much for your ongoing support. I don't know if there will be 800 more episodes of this series, but there will certainly be a bunch more coming in the near future. With that, thanks so much for your support. Thanks for watching this video. Leaving a like is certainly always a much appreciated support for the video and the channel. If you're new around here, you're always welcome to hit subscribe. And now for the 800th time, I'm checking out, and bye.